Ethan, don't touch that yet, my mother snapped, her voice slicing through the clatter of plates. I froze halfway to sitting down. He's just hungry, Mom. She didn't look at me. Lila's kids eat first. They're growing. My sister smiled sweetly, piling chicken onto her twins' plates. You heard Grandma, sweeties. Say thank you. Thank you, Grandma. They chimed. Ethan's small voice followed, timid. Can I have some too? Mom waved her hand. Wait your turn. There's plenty, except there wasn't. I could already see the bowl nearly empty. My father poured himself another glass of wine and stared at his phone. I clenched my hands in my lap. Clara, Lila said, smirking. Maybe you should have brought something if you wanted more food. You know how boys eat? I forced a smile. I thought dinner was shared. It is, she said lightly. Just depends on who helps. Ethan tugged my sleeve. Mom, I'm really hungry. I swallowed the lump in my throat. It's okay, baby. We'll eat later, Lila's husband laughed. That's the spirit. Patience builds character, Mom chuckled, stirring the pot. See, even he gets it. You spoil that boy too much, Clara. I bit my tongue. He's 7, Mom. Exactly. Old enough to wait. I looked at Ethan's face, pale, eyes down. Go wash your hands again, honey, I whispered. He obeyed, his small feet dragging across the floor. Dad finally spoke, still staring at his glass. Let's not start drama tonight. I'm not starting anything, I said quietly. I'm just tired, Lila laughed sharp and high. Tired of what? You barely do anything. We all have kids, Clara. You're not special. Something inside me shifted. Slow, hot, dangerous. You're right, I said, my voice low. I'm not special. Just invisible. Mom slammed the spoon down. Oh, don't start with that tone. You always think we're against you. You've been sensitive since high school. Maybe because you always compared us, I said before I could stop myself. You still do. Lila rolled her eyes. Don't make this about the past. We're eating. Ethan returned, sitting quietly. He stared at the twins devouring chicken legs while his plate stayed empty. Mom finally sighed and scooped the last bit of mashed potatoes, straight onto Lila's kids' plates. There, that's fair. My throat tightened. I looked at my father. Dad, can you— He didn't look up. Just let it go. Lila's husband leaned back. You know, Clara, maybe you should learn from your sister. She's built a real family. Stability. I smiled faintly. You mean comfort built on favoritism? He blinked, uncomfortable. I didn't mean— It's fine, I said. My voice sounded calm, but inside I was shaking. I understand now, Mom frowned. Understand what? That it's not about food, I said softly. It never was. Lila laughed again. You're so dramatic. Eat your feelings later like you always do. I stood up, my chair scraping the floor. Ethan, grab your coat. Mom's eyes widened. You're leaving? Dinner's not over. It was over before it began. Don't be childish, she snapped. I met her gaze. Tired, disappointed, done. If standing up for my son makes me childish, then I've been one my whole life. Ethan hurried to my side. I took his hand and turned toward the door. The smell of food lingered, heavy and bitter. Clara, Dad called faintly, don't make a scene. I looked back once. I'm not making a scene, Dad. I'm making a choice. And as we stepped into the cold night, Ethan whispered, Mom, are we in trouble? I squeezed his hand. No, baby. We're finally free. Mom, can we go to Grandma's again? Ethan asked one morning, his small voice breaking the silence of our tiny kitchen. I looked up from the sink. You still want to go after what happened? He shrugged. She's still Grandma. That word stung. She's also the reason you went to bed hungry. He blinked, confused. But maybe she didn't mean it, I sighed. Maybe. I didn't believe it. I never had. That night replayed in my head like an old film, one I'd watched too many times. Lila with her bright dresses, her kids with shiny shoes, her husband driving up in a new car. Me standing beside my secondhand stroller while my mother whispered, You should have chosen better if you wanted help. Chosen better, I murmured under my breath. What? Ethan asked. Nothing, sweetheart. Finish your cereal. He frowned at the nearly empty bowl. We're out of milk again? Yeah, I said softly. I'll get some later. Can we ask Grandpa? No. My voice came sharper than I meant. We'll manage. He lowered his eyes. I hated that look. Quiet acceptance, the same kind I wore as a child. Back then, everything revolved around Lila. She got the new clothes, the room with a balcony, the bigger slice of cake. Mom said, "You're the older one, Clara, you should understand." I did. I understood that love had a ranking, and I wasn't at the top. Once, after my husband left, I went to Mom, desperate. "I just need a little help until I get back on my feet," I'd said. She smiled politely, like I was a stranger. "You should have chosen better, dear. Actions have consequences." "Consequences?" I'd whispered. "Like being abandoned?" She poured herself tea. "Like being careless." I remembered standing there, clutching my purse, my pride dissolving like sugar in hot water. "Mom," Ethan said now, pulling me back. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. He studied me. "You look sad." "I'm just thinking." "About Grandma?" "About a lot of things." He slid off his chair and hugged me. "You don't have to be sad." "I can help," I smiled weakly. "You already do." Later that evening, while folding laundry, I caught sight of his tiny socks beside my worn-out jeans. Something in me stirred, a mix of exhaustion and determination. I remembered the way Mom's eyes had softened when Lila cried, how Dad always stepped in to calm her, but stayed silent when I did. I remembered birthdays forgotten, school plays unattended, and 1,000 small wounds that had turned into scars. "Mom?" Ethan's voice came from the doorway. "Do you think Grandma likes me?" I froze. "Why would you ask that?" "She looks at me funny. Like I'm not really hers." My throat tightened. "That's not your fault," he frowned. "Then whose fault is it?" I hesitated. "Maybe it's nobody's. Maybe some people just forget how to love right." He nodded slowly, thinking hard like he always did. "Then we'll love right, okay?" "Yeah," I whispered. "We will." He smiled and ran off to draw on the wall calendar again. I watched him scribble hearts around random days, like hope could be penciled in. I sat there for a long time, hands still, the hum of the old fridge filling the room. My whole life. I'd been told to endure, to stay quiet, to understand, to forgive. But watching Ethan's small back bent over his crayons, I realized silence wasn't endurance. It was surrender. I wouldn't let him inherit that. When he came back holding his drawing, a crooked heart with our names inside, I kissed his forehead. "Things will change, Ethan," I whispered. "I don't know how yet, but they will." I woke up to voices drifting from the kitchen, my mother's sharp tone, my father's low hum. I hadn't meant to listen, but the words hit me like a slap. "She shouldn't bring that boy here so often," Mom said. "He's a reminder of her failure." My chest tightened. Dad sighed. "He's just a kid, Martha." Still, every time I see him, I think of how she ruined her life. Lila made smart choices, Clara didn't. My hands trembled as I stood in the hallway. Ethan was still asleep on the couch, his little hand clutching his toy car. "My failure," they said. "My beautiful boy." I stepped into the kitchen. "Say that again," I said quietly. Mom jumped, then frowned. "Oh, Clara, don't sneak around like that. I wasn't sneaking." "I heard what you said." Her mouth tightened. "You're taking it out of context." I heard every word. Dad folded his newspaper. "Let's not do this now." I stared at him. "Now is perfect." "Why do you let her talk about my son like that?" He sighed. "You're too sensitive." "You always have been." Something inside me cracked. "You think I'm sensitive? You've been calling me weak since I was 12. You never even asked why." Lila's voice floated from the doorway. "Oh God, what now?" She stood there, arms crossed, hair perfect, like she'd been waiting for the show. I glared at her. "You knew what she said about Ethan?" She shrugged. "She didn't mean it like that." "You always twist things." "I twist things?" My voice shook. "You all watched my son sit hungry last night." "You think I didn't notice?" Mom scoffed. "You're being dramatic again. No one was starving." "Don't you dare call me dramatic," I snapped. "You humiliate me and my child every time we walk in this house." Dad's voice rose. "Clara, enough." "Don't make a scene," Lila laughed softly. "There she goes again, the victim." I turned to her. "You love being the favorite, don't you?" "You always have," she smirked. "Maybe I just worked harder for it." "You mean you manipulated harder?" "Clara," Mom barked. "Apologize right now." "For what?" "For existing? For having a child you can't brag about?" Ethan stirred in the living room, his small voice calling, Mom? I looked toward him and something inside me solidified. My anger wasn't heat anymore. It was steel. I'm done, I said. You'll never speak about him again. You'll never get the chance, Mom blinked. What's that supposed to mean? It means you won't see us again. Dad stood, his chair scraping the floor. Don't be ridiculous. Families fight. This isn't fighting. It's cruelty. Lila laughed again, that smug, practiced sound. You always say things you don't mean. I met her eyes. This time I do. Ethan appeared behind me, sleepy and confused. Mom, are we leaving? Yes, baby. Mom's voice softened, false concern dripping from it. Don't do this in front of him. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm finally stopping. Dad's voice broke the silence again. You'll regret this. No, I said, reaching for Ethan's hand. I regret staying this long, Lila muttered. You'll come back. You always do, I smiled faintly. Not anymore. I led Ethan to the door. Behind me, the kitchen buzzed with whispers I didn't care to hear. My heart ached, but it was clean pain, honest pain. Outside, the cold air hit my face like freedom. Ethan squeezed my hand. Are we in trouble again? I looked down at him and shook my head. No, sweetheart. This time they are. The first day, I kept my phone on the table, screen up, sound on. Every vibration made my heart jump. But it was never them. Just spam messages and silence pretending to be peace. By day 3, even the silence hurt, Ethan noticed. Mom, why do you keep looking at your phone? I forced a smile. Just checking the time, he frowned. It's not ringing, though. I know. He stared at me for a long moment. Are you waiting for Grandma? The question hit harder than I expected. Maybe, I said. Did she say she'll call? No. He thought about that. Then maybe she won't. I laughed softly, bitterly. Maybe she won't. He tilted his head. Did we do something bad? My chest tightened. Why would you think that? She looked mad when we left. Maybe I said something wrong. I sat beside him, my throat thick. No, Ethan. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why don't they talk to us? I wanted to lie, but he was too smart for that. Sometimes people stop talking because they don't want to see what they've done. He blinked. That's silly. Yes, I whispered. It is. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Their house used to feel like the center of the world. Now it felt like a wound. I reached for my phone again. No missed calls, no messages. I almost typed something first. Hi, Mom, are you okay? But I couldn't send it. Pride, fear, pain. They tangled in my chest like roots I couldn't cut. Ethan shuffled into my room, rubbing his eyes. Can't sleep? No, I said softly. You? He climbed into bed beside me. It's too quiet. I know. He looked up. Do you miss them? I hesitated. Yes, but not how they treated us. He nodded sleepily. I miss Grandma's garden. Not Grandma. That simple sentence broke something inside me. Not from sadness, but from clarity. He saw it too. He understood. The next morning, I made tea and opened a blank notebook I'd found in a drawer. I stared at the first page for a long time. Then I started writing, day 4, no calls. No messages. I think silence is its own kind of cruelty. Ethan came in, hair messy, holding his toy car. What are you doing, Mom? Writing. About what? About how I feel. He looked curious. Why? Because if I don't, it'll eat me alive. He nodded slowly. Can I write too? I smiled. Sure. What will you write about? He thought for a second. About my car. It's faster when I believe in it. I laughed for the first time in days. That's a good start. We sat together at the small kitchen table, scribbling on cheap paper. The kettle hissed. The world outside felt far away. Ethan drew a crooked sun and 2 stick figures holding hands. That's us, he said proudly. See? We're still fine. I traced the edge of his drawing. Yeah, I whispered. We are. Later, when he went to play, I kept writing. The words came faster now. Memories, anger, the things I never said, they poured out like confession. I didn't realize my hands were shaking until tears hit the page. Maybe I wasn't overreacting. Maybe I was finally reacting right. By the time I stopped, the notebook was half full. I felt lighter, not healed, but real. Ethan peeked back in. Mom, are you okay now? I smiled through swollen eyes. Getting there, he grinned. Good, 'cause I think we're gonna be okay. and for the first time, I almost believed him. It was raining the morning I opened the box. The attic smelled like dust and old secrets. I wasn't looking for anything, just trying to clean, to stop thinking. Ethan's voice floated up the stairs. "Mom, what are you doing up there?" "Finding ghosts," I called back. He gasped. "Real ones?" "Only the kind that write letters." He laughed and ran off. I smiled faintly and turned back to the box marked Rose's things. My grandmother's handwriting. I hadn't touched it since her funeral. Inside were photos, faded ribbons, and a folded letter sealed with tape. My name was written across the front. Clara. My hands shook as I opened it. "My Clara," it began. "You were always my favorite. You see love differently. That's your curse and your gift." I stopped reading, my throat burning. "Oh, Grandma." Ethan's footsteps creaked behind me. "You're crying," I wiped my face. "Just remembering someone who loved me, right? Grandma Rose?" "Yeah." I took a shaky breath and continued reading. "Don't be sad when people fail to see your worth. Some hearts are too small for big love. When that happens, walk away, but walk tall." The tears came fast. The words sounded like she'd written them yesterday. Ethan touched my arm. "Did she write that for you?" "Yes," I whispered. "And maybe for us too." He smiled softly. "She sounds smart." She was. I kept reading, my eyes blurring. "By the time you find this, I'll be gone. But I've left something behind, for the one who learns to walk alone." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Ethan leaned closer. "Maybe it's a treasure." I laughed through tears. "I doubt it. Grandma didn't believe in treasure." He grinned. "Maybe she changed her mind." I dug through the box. Old recipe cards, a locket, some receipts. Then I saw an envelope tucked between two books. Inside were yellowed papers, legal ones. "Mom?" Ethan whispered. "What is it?" My voice shook. "Property documents, it says, my name, like your house? No, Grandma's cottage. The one near the river." His eyes widened. "The one with the red door?" "Yes," I could barely breathe. "She left it to me." He jumped up and clapped. "We can live there, can we?" I stared at the papers again, stunned. "I don't know, maybe." He threw his arms around me. "Grandma's giving us a home." I held him close. "Looks like she is." For a moment, I just sat there, listening to the rain against the roof, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. "Mom?" Ethan whispered again. "Are you happy?" I smiled. "For the first time in a long time." He nodded like he understood. "Grandma's still helping." "She always does," I said softly. "Even from the other side." He looked serious. "Do you think she knew you'd need it?" "Yes," I said, tracing her handwriting with my finger. "She always knew what everyone needed. She just gave quietly." We sat in silence, the kind that didn't hurt. Then Ethan pointed to the bottom of the letter. "There's more words." I leaned in. "Clara, when you finally stop begging to be seen, you'll see yourself. That's when you'll be free." My heart broke and healed in the same breath. Ethan whispered, "Does that mean we're free now?" "Almost," I said. "This is the start." He grinned. "Then let's go see the red door." I folded the letter carefully. "We will." And for the first time in years, I felt like the ground beneath me was mine. "Careful with that box," I said, holding the door open as Ethan struggled with a pile of dishes. "I got it, Mom." He puffed. "This one's not even heavy." The cottage smelled like dust and wildflowers. Grandma's red door creaked when we opened it, but the air inside felt kind, like she'd been waiting for us. Ethan spun in a circle. "It's smaller than Grandma's house, but prettier." "It's ours," I said softly. "That makes it perfect." We spent the first week cleaning, painting and laughing over small things, his uneven paint strokes, my terrible hammering skills. "Mom," he said one afternoon, "why do you smile so much now?" I looked up from the paint tray. "Because for once, no one's telling me I shouldn't." He grinned. "Then I'll smile too." Days turned into rhythm. Mornings full of work, evenings filled with peace. I started selling handmade candles online using Grandma's old jars. It wasn't much, but orders slowly came in. For the first time, I felt like I was building something that belonged only to me. Then, one evening, my phone rang. Lila. I stared at the screen, debating. Ethan peeked over. Are you gonna answer? I guess I should, I sighed, pressing accept. Hello? Clara? Her voice snapped like static. I just found out about the property. You're unbelievable. Unbelievable? I repeated. You think you can just take Grandma's cottage? That house belongs to the family. It was left to me, Lila, in writing, she scoffed. Grandma was old. She didn't know what she was doing. My voice stayed calm. She knew exactly what she was doing. You've always been selfish, she hissed. You're using her death to play victim again. I almost laughed. If walking away from your chaos makes me selfish, then yes, I'm guilty. You'll regret this, she snapped. Mom and Dad are furious. I'm sure they are. Return it, Clara. Don't destroy this family. This family destroyed itself, I said quietly. I'm just choosing not to stay buried under it. There was silence, sharp and short. Then she hung up. Ethan watched me carefully. Was that Aunt Lila? Yes. Did she yell again? I nodded. But it didn't work this time. He smiled proudly. You didn't cry? No, I said. I didn't. Later that night, I got a message. Mom, you've betrayed us. That house isn't yours. Shame on you. I read it twice, then deleted it. Ethan saw me put the phone away. Was that Grandma? No, I said softly. Just noise. He frowned. You're not mad? I was, I admitted. But anger takes too much space. I need that space for peace. He nodded like a little old man. Peace sounds better, I laughed. You sound like Grandma Rose, he grinned. Then I'm smart too. That night, I sat by the window watching the moon reflect on the river. The cottage was quiet, but it wasn't empty. I felt her presence, the calm steadiness she'd always carried. I whispered, Thank you, Grandma. I finally learned to walk alone. The next morning, I opened my laptop. 10 new orders had come in. Ethan leaned over my shoulder. That's a lot, Mom. Yeah, I said. Looks like people like our candles. Our candles, he repeated proudly. I kissed the top of his head. Exactly, ours. Outside, the wind rattled the trees, but it didn't sound harsh anymore. It sounded like freedom. For years, I'd begged for love, begged for acceptance, begged for family. Now, silence answered me. Not cruel, not cold, just honest. And for the first time, I didn't need their voices to feel alive. The call came on a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary day that used to feel safe. Unknown number, Ethan read from my phone. Should I answer it? I took a breath. I'll handle it. When I picked up, my mother's voice came through, sugar-sweet and unfamiliar. Clara, finally. You're so hard to reach these days. I paused. You haven't tried reaching me in months. Oh, don't be dramatic, she said with a forced laugh. We've just been busy. How are you? How's little Ethan? Fine, I said flatly. That's wonderful, she said too quickly. We've all been thinking about you, I smiled to myself. Really? Or did you just run out of people to use? There was a pause. That's not fair. No, I said. It's just true, she sighed heavily. I didn't call to argue. We miss you both, do you? Yes. You know your father's been asking about Ethan. I could hear the faint clinking of glass in the background, my father's habit when he was stressed. How's Dad? I asked, already knowing. She hesitated. He's managing. Managing, I repeated. That's code for something's wrong, her tone sharpened. You don't need to sound so smug. Things have been difficult. I waited. She cracked first. Your father's business, well, it's had a few setbacks. The market, you know how it is. I bit my lip to keep from smiling. I'm sure it's the market. We might need some advice, she said gently. You've always been good with numbers. Advice, I echoed. Or money? Clara, really. Must you be so cold? I learned from the best. Before she could answer, another voice came on the line. Clara, it's Lila. Of course. Hi, Lila, I said. Listen, she began, her tone falsely bright. I just wanted to check in. You know we've all made mistakes. Like taking everything Grandma left me and calling it yours? She exhaled sharply. I don't want to fight. You never do until you need something. That's not fair. It's perfectly fair. Fine, she snapped. If you must know, my husband left. I'm dealing with enough already. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it. Just not the way she wanted. You don't sound sorry. I stopped pretending. Her silence was thick. You've changed. I had to. Mom said you're living in that old cottage. Must be a McQuiet. It's peaceful, I corrected. Peace and quiet aren't the same. Peace doesn't pay bills, she muttered. It does when you earn it yourself. Mom's voice cut back in. Clara, we're family. We shouldn't let things come between us. I laughed softly. Things didn't come between us, Mom. You did. Don't be cruel. I'm being honest. There was a long pause. Then gently, she tried one last time. We miss Ethan. He must miss us too. I looked at my son across the room, painting a cardboard castle, humming to himself. He's doing just fine, I said. Maybe we could visit? No, her voice cracked. You can't keep him away forever. I can keep him safe, I said. That's my job. Clara, I cut her off. You taught me something, Mom. Silence hurts more than shouting, but it also heals faster. Before she could respond, I hung up. Ethan looked up. Was that Grandma? Yes. Did she want to see me? I nodded. She said she misses you. He smiled faintly. Do you miss her? I thought for a moment. Not anymore. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, soft but certain, like a voice saying, You did it. The woman who once begged for love now gave silence instead. When the invitation came, I almost laughed. Family dinner? I read aloud. After everything, Ethan frowned. Do we have to go? No, I said, then paused. But I think I should. He looked uneasy. They'll just be mean again. Maybe, I said softly. But this time I'm not the same. He hesitated. Can I come? Yes, I smiled. We'll go together. Just once. The night we arrived, the air smelled like old perfume and forced apologies. My mother opened the door, smiling too wide. Clara! Ethan! Look at you two. Hi, Mom, I said. My voice didn't shake. Lila appeared behind her, hair perfect as always. Wow, you actually came. Guess miracles happen, I said lightly. She forced a laugh. Well, come in. Dinner's almost ready. The table looked like a magazine photo. Polished silver, steaming food, wine glasses lined perfectly. But underneath the shine, I saw cracks. My father's tired eyes, Lila's tense hands, my mother's strained smile. Ethan sat beside me, quiet. Lila's kids shouted across the table, already reaching for plates. Mom clapped her hands. All right, let's eat before it gets cold. Lila grinned. Mom, make sure the twins get the drumsticks. You know they love them. Mom nodded and reached for the serving bowl. I watched her fill their plates. Chicken, mashed potatoes, corn. The same order as before. She didn't even glance at Ethan. Grandma, Ethan whispered. Can I? I placed my hand gently on his arm. Then I looked up. Feed mine too, I said. Mom froze mid-motion. Excuse me? I met her eyes. Feed my son too. He's family, isn't he? The table went silent. Even Lila's kids stopped chewing. Mom forced a laugh. Of course he is. I was just what? I asked calmly. Forgetting? Her smile wavered. You're being sensitive again. No, I said. I'm being fair. Dad cleared his throat. Let's not ruin the evening. I'm not ruining it, I said. I'm finally making it real. Lila leaned forward, voice dripping with sarcasm. Always the martyr. Can't you just let it go? Letting it go, I said, is what got us here. Mom's tone hardened. This dinner was meant to heal things. Then start by treating him equally. Ethan looked at me, eyes wide. Mom, it's okay. It's not okay, I said softly. Not anymore. Mom's hand trembled slightly as she scooped a portion onto Ethan's plate. There, she said, forcing cheer. Happy? No, I said, but I'm not silent either. Lila rolled her eyes. You're unbelievable, I turned to her. And you're predictable, Dad muttered. Enough, Clara. I looked at him. You always say that. Enough, quiet down. Don't make a scene. But silence was the scene, wasn't it? Year after year, no one spoke. Only the clock ticked. Ethan whispered, Mom. I squeezed his hand. It's okay, baby. Eat. He picked up his fork slowly, glancing between us. Thank you, he said to Grandma. Mom's eyes softened for a second, just a flicker of guilt. You're welcome, dear. The rest of dinner passed in strained murmurs. I didn't argue, didn't cry. I just watched them, people pretending their empire hadn't cracked. When dessert came, Mom asked, "Coffee?" "No thanks," I said, standing. "We should go." She looked startled. "So soon?" "Yes," I said. "I came for closure, not comfort." Lila crossed her arms. "Still dramatic. Still me," I said simply. Ethan slipped his small hand into mine. "Can we go home now?" "Yes," I whispered. "Let's go home." And as we walked out, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. My silence spoke louder than their words ever had. I didn't plan to go back, but fate doesn't always ask for permission. Mom called again the next week. "Clara, please. Just come over once more." "No fighting this time," I hesitated. "Why?" "We need to talk." Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I heard something that almost sounded like fear. Ethan looked up from his homework. "You're not going again, are you?" "I might," I said softly. "But not for them. For me." The house felt smaller than I remembered. Lila sat at the table, eyes red. Dad stood by the window, silent. Mom hovered, hands twisting nervously. "Clara," she started. "I'm glad you came." "I'm not staying long," I said. "Please," she whispered. "Just sit." I sat. The air felt heavy, like the truth had been waiting too long to breathe. Lila spoke first. "I don't even know what you want anymore. You act like we're monsters." I looked at her. "You want to know what I want?" "Honesty," she rolled her eyes. "Honesty? You think you're the only one who's been hurt?" "Who else was ignored, Lila?" I asked. "Who else had to watch her child go hungry while her sister's kids got seconds?" "Stop exaggerating," she snapped. "I'm not exaggerating," I said quietly. "I'm remembering," Mom's voice broke in. "Clara, enough. We didn't mean to hurt you. You know how families work. There are expectations, traditions." "Tradition?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call cruelty now?" She flinched. "You wouldn't understand the pressure. We had to make choices. You chose her," I said simply. "Every time," Lila stood abruptly. "I'm not doing this again." "Then don't," I said. "Run like you always do." Her chair screeched back as she stormed out, slamming the door. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want this. I just wanted peace." "Peace built on silence isn't peace, Mom. It's surrender." She covered her face. "I tried to raise you right." "You were always so distant, so hard to reach." "No," I said. "I was always easy to ignore." Dad finally turned from the window. His voice was low. "Enough, Martha." She looked at him, startled. "Robert?" He sighed, shoulders heavy. "She's right." She stared at him in disbelief. "You're taking her side?" "I'm not taking sides," he said. "I'm admitting the truth. We failed her." Mom shook her head, trembling. "You think I don't know that? Every night I think about it." "Then why didn't you stop?" I asked. "Why let her treat us like this?" He swallowed hard. "Because it was easier. I thought keeping peace was love. I was wrong. Something in me softened. Not forgiveness, but understanding." Mom wiped her eyes. "You don't know how hard it is to be a mother." "I do," I said quietly. "That's why I'll never be like you." Her lips quivered. "Clara, I spent years trying to be enough for you," I continued. "Enough daughter, enough sister, enough reason to be loved. But the truth is, I was never the problem." She looked at me through tears. "Then what was?" "You," I said. "And your silence." The room went still. Dad's voice broke it. "You've grown strong, Clara." I nodded. "Because I had to." He stepped closer. "I'm sorry," I met his eyes. "Thank you." "That's all I ever wanted. To hear it once." Mom whispered. "Can you ever forgive us?" I took a breath. "Maybe someday? But not today." I stood, my heart steady. "You made me believe I wasn't enough. But I am." For once, they didn't argue. They just watched me, not as the weak daughter, but as the woman they never thought I'd become. The smell of roasted chicken filled the kitchen, not the fancy kind my mother used to make, just something simple and ours. Ethan leaned across the table, eyes bright. "Can I serve you, Mom?" I laughed. "Not tonight." "I'm doing the honors," he grinned. "Then I get extra potatoes." "You always do." I placed the plate in front of him first. It felt symbolic. Small, but everything. He picked up his fork eagerly. "This looks awesome," I smiled. "You said that last week?" "And it was true last week too," he said, mouth full. I chuckled softly. Slow down or you'll choke. He swallowed and looked around. It's quiet here. I like it. Me too, I said. Quiet doesn't hurt anymore. He tilted his head. It used to? Yeah, I said. It used to sound like rejection. Now it sounds like peace. He nodded thoughtfully. Because we made it ourselves? Exactly. He pointed to the candle on the table. Grandma Rose would like this. I smiled at the flickering light. She would. She liked warm dinners and honest hearts. Do you miss her? He asked. Every day, I said softly. But she's here in little ways and in the things she taught me, in you. He grinned. In the mashed potatoes? I laughed. Definitely in the mashed potatoes. After a moment of quiet, he said, Did Grandma and Grandpa ever call again? I hesitated. A few times? What did they say? That they miss us. That they want to see us, he played with his fork. Are we going to see them? No, I said. Not yet. Because they were mean? Because they haven't changed, I said gently. Sometimes people say sorry because they want comfort, not because they understand. He thought about that. So you're mad at them? I shook my head. Not mad. Just done, he frowned. But don't you miss having a big family? I smiled. I used to. Now I realize we already have one. You and me, that's enough, he beamed. We're the strong team. The strongest, I said. We ate quietly for a while, the soft clinking of forks and the sound of rain against the window filling the space. He broke the silence again. Mom, do you ever think about that dinner? The one where they didn't feed me? I froze for a second, then nodded. Sometimes. I don't get sad about it anymore, he said. I just think, maybe they didn't know better. I looked at him, proud. That's very kind of you, he shrugged. You said kindness doesn't make you weak. I did say that, he smiled. Then I guess we're both strong. I reached across the table and took his hand. We are, and we're free. He squeezed my fingers. I like free. I do too, I said quietly. It tastes better than anything on this table, he laughed. Even better than my potatoes? Almost. We finished dinner, and I started washing dishes while he hummed a song from school. The sound filled the house, gentle and alive. When everything was clean, we sat again, 2 cups of cocoa between us. He leaned against me. Mom? Yeah? Are you happy now? I looked around at the warm light, the soft rain, the little boy who'd grown braver than anyone I knew. Yes, I whispered. Happier than I ever thought I'd be, he smiled sleepily. Good, 'cause I'm happy too. I brushed his hair back, my heart full. Then we did it right. When he went to bed, I sat alone for a moment, the candle burning low. They fed their favorite first, I murmured, smiling faintly. But life fed me wisdom instead.